The room was cold. Metal walls hummed with energy, and the lights were too bright, almost blinding. In the center stood a group of humans shackled, bruised, but alive. Their breaths came heavy, but their eyes did not lower. Across from them, the aliens watched with curiosity. They were tall, thin creatures with pale skin stretched tight across their bones. Their eyes glowed like blue glass, and their voices echoed like machines. To them, this was not cruelty. This was science. One alien, the lead scientist, raised a hand. "Begin recording," it said. Its voice was calm but cold. "We will test the limits of human endurance. We will see what makes them break." The humans exchanged glances. None spoke. Their silence was louder than words. The first human, a young soldier named Marcus, was dragged forward. His uniform was torn, his lips split, but he stood straight. His eyes locked onto the aliens without fear. The scientist tilted its head. "Do you understand? You will endure pain. If you beg, if you surrender, the test ends. If not, we continue." Marcus said nothing. His jaw tightened. That silence made the alien pause for half a second. "Begin." The machine came alive. Wires lit up. The smell of burning metal filled the chamber. Marcus's body jerked as energy surged through him. His muscles tensed, his teeth clenched. The aliens leaned forward, waiting for the scream. But Marcus did not scream. He gritted his teeth, a groan escaping, but no surrender. His chest rose and fell fast. His skin glistened with sweat, but his eyes never left the scientist. One alien whispered, "He should not last this long. No creature survives this level." The lead scientist replied, "Increase the strength. Push further." The energy doubled. Marcus's body shook harder. His knees buckled, but he forced himself upright. His face twisted in pain. But then he laughed. It was low at first, then louder, echoing across the chamber. The aliens froze. The sound unsettled them. It was not fear. It was not despair. It was defiance. Marcus spat blood on the floor, his voice hoarse but steady. "Is that all you've got?" The soldiers watching behind him straightened, their eyes burning brighter. Even chained, they felt strength in his words. The aliens exchanged nervous glances. This was not expected. Most species begged within minutes. Many fainted. Some died. But this human was still standing, still fighting. The lead scientist's voice trembled for the first time. "End the first trial." The machine shut down. Marcus collapsed to his knees, chest heaving. But his head remained high. His lips curled in a weak smile. The aliens noted everything down. Heart rate beyond normal. Nervous system resisting collapse. Pain tolerance unnatural. But none of their notes captured the truth. Marcus had not endured for himself. He endured because the others were watching. Because humans did not fight alone. The second subject was chosen, a woman named Galara. Older, her arm broken and tied in a splint. The aliens expected her to fall faster. Her body was weaker, but as the machine powered up, she closed her eyes. She whispered something under her breath. A name. Her child's name. The pain surged through her body, but her lips kept moving. She whispered again and again, holding the name like a shield. The aliens increased the power. Her body shook. Her voice broke into sobs, but still she whispered. Still she refused to scream for mercy. One alien slammed its claw against the table. "This is not possible. No one survives this long." The lead scientist did not answer. 4. The first time, it felt unease. Hours passed. One by one, the humans were tested. One by one, they endured longer than any alien expected. They were hurt, burned, broken, but not defeated. Every time a human resisted, the others grew stronger. They looked at each other, and in their eyes there was fire. it was not just survival. It was something deeper, something the aliens could not measure. In the observation deck, alien officers whispered, "Perhaps the humans are not like the others. Perhaps pain makes them stronger." The lead scientist silenced them with a glare. But inside, doubt grew. These humans were not reacting like any species before. They should have been broken, but instead they were defiant. When the trials paused for the day, the humans were returned to their cells. Their bodies were weak, covered in burns and cuts. But their spirits? Unshaken. Marcus sat against the wall, breathing heavy. Alara leaned beside him, whispering again the name of her child. Another soldier muttered, "They think they can break." U.S. Marcus laughed, a tired, broken laugh, but strong all the same. "Then let's make them regret trying." The others nodded. Even in pain, even in chains, they carried something the aliens could not understand. Hope, and defiance. Up in the alien command center, the lead scientist stared at the recordings. Humans screaming but not surrendering. Bleeding but not falling. Clenched its claws tight. For the first time, fear crept into its heart. Maybe the experiment would not prove human weakness. Maybe it would reveal something far more dangerous. The next day began with silence. The alien station floated in the void, its lights glowing cold and merciless. Inside, the humans waited in their cells, bruised and exhausted from the last experiments. But their eyes still burned. The aliens had seen it, the defiance that refused to die. And so, the scientists decided to push harder. The prisoners were dragged back into the chamber. The metal floor was stained with dried blood, both human and alien. The machines hummed, glowing with fresh power. The lead scientist stepped forward, its voice sharp. "Today, we begin the first true trial. We will break the human spirit." The guards pulled Marcus forward again. His body was weak, his arms covered in burns. But still he stood tall. He looked at the other prisoners, Alara, the old soldier, the young recruits. His eyes told them one thing: don't give them what they want. Marcus was strapped into the machine. Thick bands of metal clamped around his wrists and ankles. A crown of wires pressed against his skull. The aliens monitored every heartbeat, every nerve reaction. One alien muttered, "Today he will beg. He must beg." The lead scientist only nodded. The machine activated. Energy surged through Marcus's body like fire. His muscles locked, his back arched. He groaned, but no scream escaped. The pain grew worse, stronger than yesterday. The aliens turned the controls higher. Marcus's vision blurred, spots of light dancing before his eyes. His lips trembled, but he forced them into a smile. "You call this pain?" he whispered hoarsely. "I felt worse at boot camp." The aliens froze. Then he laughed. The laugh echoed through the chamber, raw and broken, but powerful. It shook the prisoners awake, filling them with pride. Alara pressed her hand against the glass of her holding cell, whispering, "Stay strong." The aliens were unsettled. "This reaction is unnatural. He should be unconscious." "Increase the output," the lead scientist ordered. The machine screamed louder. Marcus's body shook violently, blood dripping from his nose, sweat soaking his torn shirt. But his voice cut through the pain. "You'll never see me beg. Never." The guards stepped back. Some of them, even as aliens, felt unease. They had never seen such endurance, such will. Hours passed. The aliens forced wave after wave of agony through him. Marcus refused to collapse. He bit his tongue until blood filled his mouth, but his eyes stayed locked on the lead scientist. Finally, the scientist slammed its claw against the controls. End the trial. The machine shut down. Marcus fell forward, chains holding him upright. His body was wrecked, trembling, close to breaking. But his smile remained. Still standing, he whispered. The chamber was silent. The aliens pulled him out, dragging his limp form across the floor. But even in his weakness, Marcus lifted his head toward the other humans. "Don't give them what they want," he muttered. The words struck them like fire. Even broken, he gave them strength. The next subject was chosen. Not Marcus this time, but another and older soldier named Kieran. His hair was white, his body scarred from 100 battles. The aliens expected him to fail quickly. He was too old, too damaged. They strapped him in. The machine began again, its cruel song filling the chamber. Kieran's eyes shut tight. The pain tore through his body, clawing at every nerve. But instead of screaming, he began to speak. He spoke the names of his comrades who had died in war. He spoke of battles fought, of promises made. He shouted their names into the void, each word stronger than the last. The aliens leaned forward, confused. "What is he doing?" "He remembers," one whispered. Yes, he remembered. Every friend lost, every soldier buried. Each memory became a shield, a reason not to collapse. His voice grew louder, drowning out the machine. "I carry them." He roared, "I carry them all." The aliens stared in silence. Hours later, when the machine finally stopped, Kieran was half conscious, barely breathing. But even as they unstrapped him, his lips kept moving, whispering names. The humans in the cells clenched their fists. This was not weakness. This was strength the aliens could not understand. That night, in their cold cell, the humans gathered. Marcus leaned against the wall, broken but alive. Kieran lay beside him, his voice hoarse, but his eyes bright. "They think they can break us," Marcus said quietly. Alara nodded. "But they only make us stronger." Silence followed. Then, one by one, the humans began whispering too. Some whispered family names. Others whispered battles. Some whispered nothing at all, just words of defiance. The guards listening from outside grew uneasy. It did not sound like broken prisoners. It sounded like soldiers preparing for war. In the control room, the lead scientist reviewed the recordings. Humans laughing in pain. Humans shouting names. Humans refusing to surrender. Its claws tapped against the screen nervously. This was not a study anymore. This was a warning. The chamber smelled of metal and blood. The humans had endured 2 full days of torture, and still the aliens had no answers. Instead of breaking, the prisoners grew harder, sharper, like steel forged in fire. The lead scientist was growing restless. Its pale fingers tapped against the console, eyes locked on the recordings. Humans screamed, yes, but their screams carried no surrender. Each cry became a battle cry, not a plea. "These trials are not working," one assistant hissed. "Pain makes other species collapse. Why do the humans resist?" The scientist narrowed its glowing eyes. "Then we change the experiment. If pain cannot break them, perhaps despair will." The prisoners were dragged back into the chamber once more. Their bodies were weaker, now limping, coughing, faces pale. But when the chains rattled, they stood tall. Marcus, his shirt torn and chest scarred with burns, looked around at his fellow prisoners. He was exhausted, his legs shaky, but he grinned anyway. "They still don't get it," he muttered. Yili Ao, holding her broken arm close, whispered back, "Then let's teach them." The aliens brought new machines. This time, it was not just pain. Holograms filled the room, illusions designed to crush the human spirit. The first illusion showed Earth itself burning, oceans boiling, cities falling. The hologram painted a picture of total destruction. One alien sneered, "Let them see their home die. Let them understand they are already defeated." The humans watched the image. The fire, the screams, the world crumbling. Alara's lips trembled. A tear slid down her cheek. She saw her child's face in the flames. But then Marcus spoke. His voice was raw but steady. "That's not Earth," he said. The others turned to him. Marcus glared at the projection. "Earth doesn't die that easy. You think fire scares us? We've lived with fire since the first spark. You think war scares us? War made us what we are." His voice rose, breaking through the illusion. "You can burn cities. You can sink oceans. But you'll never erase us. Never." The projection flickered. The aliens adjusted the controls, making the flames burn brighter. But something strange happened. The humans began to laugh. Weak, painful laughter, but laughter all the same. The lead scientist hissed. "Why do they laugh?" One of the younger assistants whispered nervously. "Because they don't believe it. They don't fear the illusion." The scientist slammed its claw against the console. "Then we take another approach." The second illusion appeared. This time, the humans saw their loved ones chained, tortured, begging for help. Voices called their names, crying, pleading. Alara staggered forward, reaching for the hologram of her child. Her heart ached, her breath caught. Marcus grabbed her arm. "It's not real," he said firmly. "Don't let them win." Illyra's tears fell, but she stood still. She whispered to the hologram of her daughter, "You're safe. You're alive. They can't touch you." The hologram tried to scream louder, but Alara turned away. She would not give the aliens her surrender. The aliens grew frustrated. Why do they resist even this? No creature can fight despair itself. The lead scientist's eyes narrowed. For the first time, doubt crept into its voice. Perhaps they are not creatures at all. Perhaps they are something else. The final illusion was the cruelest. The humans were shown themselves, broken bodies, shattered minds, lying dead in chains. The holograms whispered, "This is your fate. You will die here, alone." The chamber was silent. The humans stared at the lifeless versions of themselves. For a moment, the silence grew heavy, suffocating. Then Kieran, the old soldier, stepped forward. His voice was low, steady, unshaken. "If that's my fate," he said, "then I'll meet it standing." Marcus's lips curled into a grin. "Same here." Illyra lifted her chin, her eyes fierce despite her tears. "If I die, I die fighting." One by one, every human raised their head. Chains rattled as they straightened their backs, facing their hologram corpses without fear. The aliens stared, unable to comprehend. They had expected begging. They had expected surrender. Instead, they saw humans staring death itself in the eye and laughing. The machines powered down. The illusions vanished. The humans were dragged back to their cells, bruised but not broken. In the control room, the alien officers argued in hushed voices. "This is unnatural. They resist pain. They resist despair. What kind of species is this?" The lead scientist did not answer. Its glowing eyes stared at the empty chamber. For the first time in its life, it felt fear. Back in the prison cell, Marcus lay on the floor, breathing heavy. His body was failing him, but his spirit burned brighter than ever. "They think we're broken," he muttered. Elar, clutching her splinted arm, whispered, "But we're still here." Kieran gave a weak smile. "And tomorrow, we'll still be here. No matter what they do." The others nodded. Even in chains, even in agony, they had something the aliens would never understand. They had each other, and they would not yield. The alien station felt colder the next day. The corridors were silent, as if the walls themselves were listening. The guards marched the prisoners back to the chamber. Their faces were pale, their steps heavy, but their eyes still burned with defiance. The lead scientist was waiting. Its claws tapped the console slowly, a rhythm of frustration and rage. The last experiments had failed. Pain had failed. Illusions had failed. Now it wanted something else. This trial, it hissed, will end the human myth. They think themselves unbreakable. Today, they learn otherwise. The prisoners were forced into the chamber. Chains clinked as they were. Strapped down again. Marcus stood in the center, his body shaking from weakness. His skin was pale, his veins dark from the repeated shocks. The aliens did not strap him into the machine this time. Instead, they brought someone else forward. ELARA. The guards dragged her into the circle of light. Her broken arm was still bound to her chest, her eyes wide with fear. Marcus's jaw tightened. Leave her out of this. The scientist ignored. Him. We discovered your weakness, human. You endure your own pain, but can you endure another's? The machine roared to life. Energy surged through Ilara's body. She screamed, falling to her knees. Her broken arm twisted under the strain. Her breath ragged. Marcus fought against his chains, pulling until his wrists bled. Stop! She's not part of this. The aliens watched closely. Observe, the scientist said. Pain multiplied when shared. The human bond becomes their undoing. But they were wrong. Through the screaming, through the agony, Ilara lifted. Her head, tears streamed down her face, but her lips curled into a smile. You're wasting your time, she gasped. We don't break for each other? We fight for each other? Marcus roared, slamming his body against the restraints. His veins bulged, his muscles straining with unnatural strength. For a moment, the chains bent. The scientist froze. Impossible. His body is failing. He should not have strength left. But Marcus wasn't fighting for himself anymore. He was fighting for Ilara. For all of them. Stop it. He bellowed. If you want to test strength, test mine. Leave her. The aliens increased the power. Ilara screamed again, her voice echoing through the chamber. The other humans shouted from their cells, slamming their fists against the glass. Stay strong. Don't give in. We're with you. Their voices filled the chamber, a chorus of resistance. Ilara fell forward, trembling, but she still whispered, I won't give you the satisfaction. The guards exchanged uneasy glances. They had seen species die screaming, begging. But never this. Never a prisoner smiling through tears. Marcus's rage burned hotter. He pulled again, his body tearing against the chains. His wrists bled, his shoulders strained, but he kept pulling. The metal groaned. The aliens panicked. Restrain him. Increase containment. But Marcus's roar drowned them out. His voice shook the chamber. You can't break us. With a final heave, one chain snapped. The scientist's eyes widened in horror. Contain him. Guards rushed. Forward, weapons raised. Marcus swung his free arm like a hammer, sending one crashing into the wall. Another stumbled back, fear flashing in its eyes. Ilara collapsed, gasping, but she smiled. Told you, she whispered. The aliens scrambled to shut the machine down. Sparks flew as panels overloaded. The chamber filled with smoke, alarms blaring. Marcus staggered forward, dragging the broken chain still attached to his wrist. He was bleeding, barely standing, but unyielding. You thought we break? He growled. You thought wrong. The prisoners in the cells erupted, slamming their chains against the walls. Their voices rose together, a thunderous chant. Humanity, humanity. The sound filled the chamber, shaking the aliens to their core. The scientist backed away, trembling. For the first time, it understood what was happening. This was not an experiment anymore. This was a battlefield. Alarms screamed louder. More guards poured into the chamber. Marcus tried to fight, but his body was failing. Blood dripped from his mouth, his chest heaving. He managed to strike down one more guard before they overwhelmed him. They forced him to the ground, electroshackles locking around his limbs. Alara was dragged back, coughing, barely alive. The humans screamed in fury as Marcus was pinned. The scientist stepped forward again, voice shaking with both rage and fear. You think this proves strength? It proves only desperation. You are still our prisoners. You cannot win. Marcus lifted his head, blood in his teeth, and smiled. You don't understand, he whispered. We already won, because you're afraid of us now. The words cut through the chamber like a blade. The scientist froze. The guards hesitated. Even in chains, even broken, Marcus's words carried power, because they were true. Back in the cell block, when the prisoners were returned, the humans were not silent anymore. They whispered, they planned, they prepared. The aliens had thought they reached the breaking point, but what they had found was something far more dangerous. Unbreakable. Resolve. Asterisk. The alien station no longer felt secure. What was once a place of control now hummed with unease. Guards whispered in the corridors. Scientists spoke in hushed voices. The humans had not broken. Instead, their defiance had spread like fire through the prison cells. Every human, no matter how bruised or starved, carried a new look in their eyes. Hope. Marcus sat against the cold wall of his cell, his wrists wrapped in bloody bandages. His chest rose and fell slowly, each breath a battle. Yet his eyes stayed sharp. Across from him, Alara stirred, her broken arm bound with torn cloth. She looked weak, but when their eyes met, she gave a small nod. They fear us now, Marcus whispered. Kieran, the old soldier, leaned closer. Good. Fear is the beginning of their downfall. That night, the humans began to whisper to one another through the walls, through the pipes, through the tiny cracks between cells. Their voices carried like ghosts through the station. We are not alone. We will not bow. We fight soon. The word spread cell to cell, heart to heart. The aliens noticed the whispers. They increased security. More guards patrolled, weapons ready. But the more they tightened control, the stronger the humans' resolve grew. In the control chamber, the lead scientist studied the recordings. Images of Marcus breaking his chain, Alara smiling through pain, and the other humans chanting filled the screens. The scientist's claws tapped nervously. We underestimated them, it admitted. Pain does not weaken them. Pain unites them. One officer snarled, then kill one as an example. The rest will obey. The scientist hesitated. Perhaps. Or perhaps it will make them fight harder. 4. The first time, the aliens did not know what to do. Back in the cells, Marcus had a plan. We can't fight them with strength, he whispered. Not yet, but we can hurt them in other ways. Alara frowned. We're chained, watched. What can we do? Marcus gave a thin smile. We can remind them we're not afraid. The next day, the guards came to take more humans for testing. They expected silence. They expected fear. Instead, when the doors opened, the humans began to sing. Low, steady. Voices filled the cell block. The old soldier started first, his voice deep and rough. Marcus joined, then Alara, then dozens of others. The song was no anthem from Earth, just a chant, a rhythm of defiance, rising with every voice. The guards froze. The sound shook them. It was not the sound of slaves. It was the sound of warriors, waiting for battle. The lead guard barked orders, but his voice was drowned out by the chant. The humans stomped their feet, chains rattling like drums. Boom, boom, boom. We don't break. The guards panicked. Shock batons crackled. Chains whipped, but the song continued. Even as blood spilled, the rhythm grew louder. For the first time, in centuries of experiments, the aliens felt powerless. In the chaos, Marcus leaned toward Alara. This is it. They don't own us anymore. Not in here. He tapped his chest. Alara nodded, her eyes burning with fire. Then let's give them more to fear. Later, when the humans were dragged back to silence the chant, the scientist tried one last trick. It brought Marcus into the chamber alone. This ends now, it hissed. Tell the others to stop, or we will execute the weak one, Alara. The alien thought it had found Marcus's weakness, but Marcus only laughed. His lips bled, his body shook, but the sound was clear. You don't get it, he rasped. You think killing one of us breaks the rest? No, it turns us into soldiers. You kill her, and every human here will rise against you. The scientist's hand trembled. For a moment, it considered the unthinkable. Retreat. Back in the cells, Marcus returned bloodied, but smiling. They're cracking, he whispered. One push more, and this whole station falls. Kieran nodded slowly. Then the spark has been lit. Alara looked around at the dozens of humans staring at Marcus with new fire in their eyes. They were no longer prisoners waiting to be tested. They were rebels, waiting for the right moment to strike. That night, the humans did not whisper through the pipes. They did not chant God instead. They stayed silent, waiting, listening. The guards thought the silence meant defeat. But in reality, it was the silence before the storm. The spark of rebellion had been lit. And it was only a matter of time before it became fire. The station was not quiet anymore. The spark had grown into something dangerous. The guards walked. Faster in the halls. The scientists argued in their labs. Every shadow felt heavy, as if the walls themselves were waiting for the storm to break. And inside the cells, the humans were no longer prisoners. They were soldiers in waiting. Marcus sat with his back against the wall, his eyes fixed on the ceiling. His wrists were still raw from broken chains, but his mind was sharper than ever. He whispered, "The next chance we get, we strike." Beside him, Alara nodded. Her face was pale from pain, but her spirit burned. We have nothing left to lose, only something to win. Kieran, the old soldier, leaned forward. His voice was steady. Then we hit them where they don't expect. Not with rage, with planning. The others in nearby cells listened closely. Each face carried scars, but also determination. The rebellion was no longer an idea. It was ready to move. That evening, the guards came for another test. They unlocked one of the cell doors, pulling out a young man. He looked frightened, but Marcus's voice cut through the fear. Stand tall. Don't give them what they want. The guard shoved him forward, laughing in their alien tongue. But as they dragged him away, the humans began to chant again, low, steady. Unshaken. We don't break. We don't break. The guard shouted, weapons buzzing. Yet the sound only grew louder. The young man's fear turned into fire. He lifted his chin and shouted the chant with them. The guards dragged him harder, but their hands trembled. In the lab chamber, the lead scientist paced. Its claws scraped the floor. This cannot continue. They infect each other with this strength. If they spread this spirit beyond the cells, the whole station will collapse. An officer snarled. Then end it now, gasped the prisoners. Wipe them out. But the scientist hesitated. No, not yet. We must understand why they endure. If we can break them, we can break any species. It did not know those words would be its own undoing. The next moment of rebellion came by accident. Careless guard left a tray of tools too close to a cell door. A human reached through the bars, quick as lightning, and dragged one inside. A weapon. Small, sharp, but enough. It passed from hand to hand, hidden under cloth, hidden in wounds, hidden even in blood. The humans had their first blade, and with it, their first chance. That night, Marcus whispered through the pipes again. "We fight soon. No more waiting." Alara whispered back from her corner. "But we are outnumbered." Chiron's rough voice carried through the walls. "Outnumbered, yes, but not outwilled. That's all we need." The next day, when the guards came again, the plan began. As one prisoner was dragged forward, he stumbled and dropped to his knees. The guards laughed and moved closer. That was when the hidden blade flashed. The alien fell, shrieking as blood splashed the floor. The humans roared. Chains rattled. Prisoners surged forward, pulling against their bonds, striking with fists, with chains, with teeth. The guards shouted, weapons sparking, but for the first time, they hesitated. They were not facing helpless test subjects anymore. They were facing warriors. Marcus broke from his cell in the chaos. The door forced open with sheer numbers. He grabbed a fallen baton from the floor, sparks crackling in his hands. "Now!" he shouted. The humans surged as one. They tackled guards, wrestled weapons away, and turned the chamber into a battlefield. Alara fought with one arm, striking with chains. Chiron moved like a soldier, breaking alien necks with brutal precision. The aliens screamed for reinforcements, but the fire had already spread too far. Down. The hall's alarms blared. Red lights bathed the station in blood-colored glow. The prisoners smashed through barriers, ripped open doors, freed more of their kind. The humans who had once sat silent now roared like lions. "Fight! Fight!" Their voices echoed like thunder through the metal halls. In the command center, the scientist watched in horror as the feeds went black one by one. Prison doors ripped open, guards overwhelmed, humans turning chains into weapons, batons into fire, their voices into war. Cries, "This is impossible," it whispered. They should not have the strength. But deep inside, it already knew the truth. This was not strength born from muscle. It was strength born from defiance. And it was spreading like wildfire. Marcus, blood running down his arm, led the charge through the main corridor. Behind him, dozens of humans surged forward. "We were prisoners," he roared. "Now we are soldiers." The guards ahead raised their rifles. But even as they fired, the humans did not stop, because nothing, not even fear, could hold back the fire anymore. Fire had spread, and it would burn the station to the ground. The station shook with alarms. Red lights flashed across the metal walls, and the sound of sirens screamed through every corridor. The aliens had built this place to break humans. Instead, it was breaking under their rebellion. Marcus ran at the front of the charge, his stolen baton crackling with sparks. Behind him, dozens of freed humans moved as one, turning chains, pipes, and even broken bones into weapons. They had no armor, no plan, no mercy, but they had something stronger. Defiance. In the control chamber, the lead scientist screamed into the comms, "Contain them. Do not let them reach the power core." But the guards' voices came back broken, panicked. "They don't. Stop. We shoot them. They keep coming. They are everywhere." The scientists stared at the screens. One by one, the cameras went dark. Humans were no longer prisoners. They were fire, and the fire was spreading. Marcus crashed through another bulkhead, slamming his baton into a guard's chest. Sparks burst. The alien fell twitching. "Alara, Chiron, this way," he shouted. Elar. Her arm, still broken, swung a chain like a whip, knocking down another alien. She grinned through blood on her lips, still standing. Chiron followed, face grim and steady, every move precise. "Power cores ahead. If we take it, the station is ours." The humans roared at his words. Even half-starved, even bleeding, they felt unstoppable. The aliens made one final stand in the core chamber. Rows of soldiers lined the room, rifles raised. Behind them, The glowing reactor pulsed like a giant heart. The lead officer snarled, "End them here. No survivors." The rifles charged, but before they fired, a voice echoed through the chamber. Deep, metallic, human. "Commander Marcus Kane." "Order, sir?" The voice came from above from the warship, docked outside the station. The alien guards froze, their eyes wide with terror. Marcus lifted his head, breath heavy, eyes burning. He shouted back, his voice strong as steel. "Open fire." The warship obeyed. From space, its cannons roared, tearing into the station's hull. Explosions rocked the chamber, throwing aliens off their feet. Humans clung to walls and chains, but their eyes blazed with victory. The station shook like a dying beast. Marcus stood tall, his voice echoing through the chaos. "This ends tonight." The humans surged forward. Blasters fired. Chains cracked. Fists broke bones. Alara struck with her chain, each swing guided by fury. Kieran fought with the calm of a soldier who had waited his whole life for this moment. Marcus led with fire in his veins, every strike a promise that humanity would never kneel. The aliens broke. Their formation shattered. Panic spread faster. Then orders. One by one, they fled. The humans did not chase. They rose. They had already won. The warship's guns fell silent. Smoke and fire filled the chamber. The reactor pulsed weakly, but still alive. Marcus leaned against the wall, his chest heaving. He looked at the survivors around him, bloodied, scarred, but standing. Alara limped forward, her broken arm hanging, but her smile fierce. "We did it." Kieran wiped blood from his face. "We took their station. Now we take our freedom." Marcus raised his voice, strong and clear, for every human to hear. "They wanted us to break. They wanted us to surrender. But we showed them what it means to be human. We don't break. We rise." The humans roared, their voices echoing like thunder through the ruins of the station. From space, a human warship waited, its engines glowing. It had come for one reason: not to save prisoners, but to answer its commander's name. The aliens had thought Marcus was helpless. They thought humanity could be studied, tamed, broken. Now their station was in ruins, their guards dead or fleeing, their experiment turned into their destruction. As the humans boarded the warship, Marcus turned. For one last look at the burning station. It had been their cage, their hell, their battlefield. Now it was their victory. Alara stood beside him, eyes shining. "What now?" Marcus gave a tired smile. "Now? We show the galaxy the truth. Humanity doesn't bow. Humanity doesn't break. Humanity fights." The warships' engines roared to life, and with fire trailing behind it, humanity left the ashes of the station, carrying defiance into the stars.